there. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well this fine Saturday. At least that is the day that this upload is actually going up. And it's also the 15th, in which it means it's the day after Valentine's Day. So I hope that if you did celebrate Valentine's, you had a great day. Me and the hubby actually went and checked out a movie. We went to go see the new Captain America, A Brave New World, with Anthony Mackie as a new Captain America. He actually was a previous Marvel character, which was Falcon, and I liked him as that character, so I was really looking forward to this movie. So I definitely will have to say this is definitely a must-see. So if you get a chance and you want to check out a good movie, you should definitely check out that Captain Marvel movie, or Captain America movie. So yeah, wow, here we go. Now, one of the things I wanted to share with you is that, yeah, as I said, a couple days ago, I wanted to catch up on some stories with you guys, some things that had happened over the last couple of weeks or so. And so I wanted to take an opportunity to take a little bit of a sightseeing route to the Real Housewives of New York. And and what was going on there. Now, if you are a fan of Rhony, the new version, the retooled version, then I really would love to know your thoughts about what you thought about this past season that actually just wrapped up, I want to say last week. And they went ahead and had their 3-part reunion, and it was pretty intense. It was pretty intense. And because of the nature of what the huge conversation was about during the reunion, which basically dominated, I want to say, majority of the reunion, I wanted to kind of take a moment to, speak on it, share on it in this video here, and definitely would love to have your thoughtful thoughts down below in the comment section. I want to know what your feelings and thoughts are about it, because a lot was revealed and it was pretty trying, and we got to see a huge vulnerability attached to many of the cast members, actually, but one in particular, Brynn Whitfield. Now, Brynn Whitfield, to me, comes across as very fun-loving type of prankster kind of, individual, right? And this here really put her in the spotlight for maybe many reasons, but how it started really isn't how it ended. So, at first it seemed to be like the prank thing was kind of going too far in the beginning of the season. I know that a few people really wasn't feeling some of that. And so it was kind of interesting how things quickly changed over the course of the weeks of the season as it unfolded for us. We did see a little bit of fracturing, it felt, in some of the core friend groups. We saw 2 new ladies come on, Raquel and Rebecca Minkoff. From what I understand, after all of the hoopla, it appears that when Rebecca did her spot on the couch for the reunion, the next minute I see she decided to leave the franchise, which was probably for the best, considering the conversation surrounding her as its entirety anyways. So, congratulations to her for making the decision that was right and best for her situation. But we got to focus more on the other ladies who really, the stories really permeated around the most. And as far as Raquel goes, I think Raquel is a great addition to the show. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. So definitely go ahead and drop those down below as well. Now, in particular, and for the reference of this video, is we're going to be really getting into the end of the season, basically prior to the actual reunion, and that is the huge blow up that took place that revealed a situation of a very sensitive nature regarding Brynn, and also the communication with her and Ubah. Now, we know that Ubah is a feisty lady, right? She's been feisty since she hit the scene on Rhony. This season was no different, and there was a lot of outbursts, a lot of life-given moments in their conversations. She was in it a little bit with Aaron. She was definitely in it with Brynn, and her and Raquel, I think, went back and forth a little bit. Ubah is just who she is. But one thing about Ubah that I felt, and I always kind of felt anyways, but she really zoned in a lot because of the nature of what took place, is you really saw Ubah's heart this season, and just how touched and hurt and emotional and connected she was to what was opening up, for all of the cast members. And I just don't think anybody really saw that coming. We also got a chance to see Erin, be vulnerable herself as well. Her and Abe were having some issues surrounding, I think, crypto and buying out, and not really telling her about that. We also got to see her spend some time with her mom during her mom's cancer diagnosis journey, and fitting for wigs and just spending time with her. And then simultaneously, which we find out for Erin, is that her father passes away in real time, right? Of cancer himself, and it was a reoccurring cancer. Apparently, he had had it some years ago, I guess, and then it came back with a vengeance. So definitely my condolences continued out to Erin and her family, and hopefully her mother is doing better as well. I don't know any too much updates about her mom and how her condition is and how she's going through her healing journey. So just prayers and thoughts to their entire family. We also got to see in the reunion that Erin is pregnant as well. So, a beautiful opportunity for a new addition into the family. And I know that it's going to bring so much love and keep the family as close as they seem to be already. So those were some of the highlighted situations. Of course, we had Sai, who's, being Sai. I love Sai. I think Sai is this, she's a very matter of fact, very frank. But she did share, and I was kind of a little, not shocked, I guess, but I don't know, maybe I was, but apparently she's been going to counseling. She did reveal to us in the reunion that she has done with counseling. And, there's a little bit of a jarring that took place there because, she's still as upfront as ever, but, hey, there's nothing wrong with that, but I hope that was a good healing experience for her. And I guess we'll see if time will tell if things were going to change, or she may end up going back. I don't know. But I like Sai. And so, then we also got to see a little bit of Jenna, and she shared a little bit about, her story and, her, I guess, new girlfriend, and how things are going there. And so, it was just a little bit of everything for everyone. Jessel seems to be, doing really well with Pavid. And, there's conversation about her having that little girl that she wants, and we'll see how that unfolds as well. But lots happened, lots took place. Won't go through every item, because there was a lot that did get unveiled, and a lot was questioned, talked about, and hopefully got to some sense of a resolve. And that's one thing I appreciate about appreciate about certain reunion shows when it comes to Real Housewives is certain things need to come to a point, and we don't want to hear about it dragged out season after season after season after season. Some storylines take too long within the season to conclude itself. And so one thing that is just really can be very frustrating is when something that seems so benign takes place in a season, and it just carries on and on and on and on and on for the sake of what, I don't know. So it did seem like there was a lot of opportunity. As hard as it was and as difficult as it was to watch, it was still riveting TV. And so bravo to the ladies for their vulnerability and what I felt was a lot of transparency and honesty about things that are very, very difficult to discuss, very, very difficult to experience in such a form where you have so many eyes watching you and every move you make and every expression that you make. So now at this point, as we were going into the reunion, we really felt that there was a division between the cast, and it seemed to be like Brynn was out here to herself and the rest of the cast was over here because of the things that took place that last night, or really the last full night, I believe, in that fateful trip in Puerto Rico, where Raquel had invited all the ladies to go to her home country, along with Sai's, I think, his home country as well, because I believe Sai's also Puerto Rican. And, they went there and had a beautiful home there to just enjoy Puerto Rico and all of the things there. Raquel wanted to share of herself with the girls, and I thought that was really, really an opportunity. And as well as we got to see a little bit more of the vulnerable side in regards to not only her family makeup, but the situation with estrangement between her and her mother. She hadn't seen her mother in, I think, 6 years or so, because her mother has a fear of or an issue of dealing with flying. And so it's not as something that she was able to do or did do as far as flying back and forth to see her in New York. So this opportunity of this reunion was really a great way for Raquel to kind of rekindle that, closeness again, hopefully at least open up that communication with her mom again. So that was a very touching moment. And so as we thought that was going to permeate the amount of which I think the focus really was a lot on, the end just really the bottom fell out, right? And things got so intense with the fighting and the bickering back and forth with the ladies. And Ubah was going off 1 minute from this situation to the next minute to this situation. There was a lot of accusations being thrown about and conversation in regards to who was able to sleep their way to get what role and all these really things, which opened up the conversation for a really horrific situation and experience that Brynn shared that happened to her, which was that she was ARD. Now, of course, naturally, for the sake that we're on YouTube, I'm going to change a few words around, as you know, just to make it YouTube friendly. But that is a devastating revelation. And because of the things that were being, insults hurled back and forth, as ladies normally do, it hit differently, obviously. And so this is where the opening occurred. So let's go ahead and get into what kind of put us in the space of where the ladies came to when it came to the reunion. And then we'll kind of wrap it up in the space of how things seem to unfold. And do we think that there was definitely a path forward beyond the reunion? So let's go ahead and get into this. So as we can see, people.com is the one that actually is sharing this particular articles. So that being said, it shares that Rhony casts turns on Brynn Whitfield for lying after Ubah Hassan exposes the truth in an explosive outburst. Almost went mental. Now, says, I checked out within a couple of minutes because I realized she was lying. Raquel Chevrolet said of Brynn's accusations towards Ubah. Now, all backs are turned on Brynn following the explosive season 15 finale of The Real Housewives of New York City. Now, Brynn, 39, found herself in hot water after she accused Ubah of knowingly calling her a lady of the night who messes around a lot, okay? After she confided in the model about a prior essay. Now, during a heated argument in Puerto Rico, Ubah had claimed Brynn may have slept with a Bravo executive to get cast on the reality show. As a survivor of SA, Brynn felt Ubah's accusation hit a little too close to home and sent her reeling. I'm in a support group trying to deal with this stuff that happened to me. You want to go there? And Ubah knows this. Ubah knows this. She told her castmates while fighting back tears. Before BravoCon, I called Ubah and I was like, I was ARD and I'm still dealing with this. Here's the reason why it's not just an insult, Brynn continued a confessional. It's because of the fact of I'm still dealing with something. So I don't want any low blows that aren't true, but let alone about something that is still something I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't breathe over. After all the flying accusations and emotionally charged arguments, the ladies decided to put the night behind them and go to bed. With cameras off and mics tucked away, Jessel confronted Ubah, who was shocked to hear Brynn's allegations and began screaming. I was like, Brynn shared that she was assaulted and that and I didn't get much further than that because you can just see on Ubah's face that she was completely blindsided, Jessel recalled to cameras. Now, Sai recounted that she walked into the room to find Ubah curled into a ball while shaking and sobbing. I almost went mental, Ubah cried to cameras, having no recollection of that conversation. I just want Brynn to tell me when she told me that so I can remember before I deny. Now, Ubah then tried to fiercely defend herself to Jenna and Raquel. She's at the core of her being, trying to convince me and make sure that I understand that I did not know that Brynn was assaulted, Jen recalled. Then she proceeds to tell us, may Allah strike me down and unalive my firstborn if I did. Raquel said no one would ever say something like that if they weren't telling the truth. Now, while Ubah continued to run around the villa, Brynn revealed that she confided in Ubah before BravoCon of 2023 about a loved one's attempted unaliving of themselves. And at the time, the two were close, and in the middle of her rant, Brynn allegedly opened up about her essay. I'm screaming and crying, and I'm like, why does this keep happening to me? My childhood, my thing. And I was like, I was effing essayed too. Now, Brynn said through the tears, I was hysterical, so I don't know if Ubah remembered, but in my mind, she knew. Now, as we know, in last season, because I believe this is the lady's second full season, we did get a lot of backstory with Brynn and how, childhood was not an easy one for her. I believe her father basically abandoned the family, and I'll say all things alleged because I think that's what basically happened. But at some point they reconnected with the family, but it never really was quite the loving, abode that she had hoped it would be. And I believe her grandmother was the one that actually ended up raising her. So it was a lot of trauma there with that. Brynn also has a brother. And so there's a lot of, that sibling trauma that, took place for them both. And, them living through that and going through that is very difficult, right? Childhood is not easy for a lot of people. And so those traumas, if not dealt with in a certain way, will continue with you. Even if you do get help, you may still have moments of triggering situations or just still deal with some of those things and those effects, because at the end of the day, the foundation of how you are set up for life matters. So it's just something that she was very open about. And so that was a really good thing that, she was able to do that. And I'm sure reached a lot of people who probably was able to relate to her in a lot of ways. So there was that. She says Ubah confronts Brynn and producers break the two women up. She says, I wish I knew I did for her to do something like this, Ubah says in her confessional, breaking down. With tensions boiling over, Ubah left the villa to stay in a nearby hotel with Jessel. The remaining housewives then gathered in Jenna's room where Brynn retold her story. And that's when Brynn says, come to think of it, maybe she didn't clock it. Everything I thought about Brynn changes for me in that moment immediately, Aaron recalled. Clocking something like that versus accusing her of knowing are two different things, Sai added. Raquel also agreed, saying, to be completely clear, I'm not doubting her experience, but it's clear to me her story is not lining up. And I think the most part of what she means with the story not lining up is just the fact of whether Ubah knew or did not know. She says, I checked out with a couple of minutes because I realized she was lying. Again, not about the actual situation that occurred to her, but the situation as far as whether that Ubah knew or not. The confrontation between Brynn and Ubah did become a major topic during the two-part reunion, which aired over the last couple of weeks or so. And I want to say, I thought it was a three-parter. I don't think it was only two, but yeah, nevertheless, that is what took place for the most part. And of course, the Real Housewives of New York City airs Tuesdays at 9 p.m. typically when it's on season. And you also, if you're interested, available to stream it on Peacock the next day. So I'm sure the whole entire season is out there for you to watch if you wanted to catch up on that. And I also want to just leave this note here. If you or someone you know has been SA'd, please contact the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-HOPE. 4673 or go to rain.org. I will definitely leave that information also in the description area below as well. So, all those things being said, it was a very hot, tumultuous situation. It definitely was one that just had us all reeling, I think, because I don't believe that we expected something like this. And like I said, one thing about Brynn, she does come with a lot of vulnerability. So to hear that she had experienced such a horrific situation was just really just heartbreaking. And then also to know that she actually sees the individual wherever the person is in the city, that's got to be, gut-wrenching. I mean, I can't even imagine. And so I definitely sending my prayers and thoughts to Brynn, as this is a difficult situation, clearly, that she has not only experienced, but continues to deal with and will probably continue to deal with for the rest of her life. And one thing that I thought was so very promising, because it really felt like all the ladies were pretty much on one side and Brynn was on the other. I felt like there was definitely a coming moment for those ladies by the time the reunion was done, because there was talks about possibly maybe having to put it on pause, and we hadn't seen the reunion yet, so we didn't know what was going on. But I'm glad that they were able to really reveal all of the things. Everybody got their feelings out. Brynn, I think, has a clear understanding of what and how she conveyed the information and what that did for Ubah, because Ubah could not imagine ever, because Ubah is a woman's woman, right? She's a girl's girl. And this was nothing ever that she would ever just passe about. And also too, like she said, don't let me know who that person is, because things might not be so good for that person, right? So, I don't know if we'll hear more about this story. I think that this has given Brynn an opportunity to want to be able to share something that is obviously such a devastating experience that she has to deal with. And we'll see how things unfold as the seasons go. It is really it's an open book at this point, how we're going to go with this situation, how she's going to pivot through the next seasons or so. So I am hoping for the next season, for the ladies to really have that coming together moment and to really bond continuously from that point. But, of course, there was a lot of tensions in the earlier part of the season, as well throughout the season, and definitely coming into the reunion, as you would have recalled if you had watched. And, Ubah was very, very done with Brynn, because, of course, the concept was that you're using the situation of saying that you had communicated with her, but yet now this looks like you're trying to take down somebody for whatever reason. And I mean, everything just kind of went haywire, right? And so, of course, with Ubah, she was done, and understandably, she never wanted to be looked at as someone who would be so callous and insensitive and empathetic to a situation such as that. But I really was happy that Ubah got up, because Brynn really was extremely emotional, and that's definitely understandable, because I really do feel deep down Brynn does really care about Ubah. She did say a couple of things that were a little, just taken, I don't necessarily think taken wrong. It's just really she shouldn't have said. And she tried to explain herself on some of those things that was additional to the situation. And so things like Ubah's kind of put it beside her, because, Ubah's happily in her relationship and moving on with her life with her Connecticut man, Oliver. So we're happy for her on that. And, really trying to take care of herself as well. I think that Ubah is interested in possibly, maybe she may have a child or so. So, she's kind of really focusing a lot on the health of that relationship, and I do wish her all the best as well. So yeah, did love the fact that Ubah got up and actually gave Brynn a hug, and just, it's going to take time, she said, because at first it was like, no, Bar, we're done, I'm over it, I'm not speaking with you, I'm not going to deal with you. And I'm sitting like, oh my gosh, I don't know how this is going to go, because here we go with the splitting of the cast, and we know that doesn't always work out so well, right? Here we're still waiting on whether or not New Jersey's coming back and it's intact or completely different, who knows, right? So it looks like they're at a positioning where at least they can still continue to move forward, because I believe these ladies are really truly friends, and were really truly friends and confidants before the show, which adds a really nice element to the show, instead of having a bunch of women who don't know each other trying to kind of contrite a storyline to keep them connected. And it usually doesn't last very long, as we've seen in many examples in many other franchises. So yeah, I think with that, I definitely want to know your thoughts about what you thought about the season, if you watched it, what you thought about the reunion. Of course, this is a very sensitive topic, so as always, I appreciate you so much, leaving your thoughtful and sympathetic and empathetic commentary down below. But let's have a conversation. Feel free to share, your thoughts on that. Do you think the ladies are going to be able to come back in a way that will continue to foster a positive situation? Of course, we're not expecting perfection, perfect relationships or non-arguments. We like a little bit of spice here and there. That's not a problem, but we don't want it to go so dark and it be a situation they can't come out from under. And there needs to be some levity, grace, and all those things given. And yeah, a lot of us have to take a collective deep breath, and kind of move forward in that space. So again, I would love to know your thoughts. I think that'll about do it for this video. I thank you so much for being here. I will be dropping 2 more videos today, so definitely make sure you have your all notification bells on so you will not miss those uploads, because I definitely want to know your thoughts about those as well. And yeah, if you are new here and you have not had an opportunity to hit the subscribe button, I hope that you will do so and become part of the family. And thank you to all of you that are already part of the family. I love you and I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for all of you for your viewing and listening support. So with that being said, thank you again. Take care, be safe, and definitely come back. I've got so much to talk about today. But until then, you take care. Bye.